guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I will be sharing with you guys my July TBR. So, thankfully this month, we do not have to play the Wheel of D20 because I have completed the only book I needed to read in June, in the month of June. I am very excited. That means that I get to spend much more time working through a backlog of books that I'm going to have that are going to be from June, which I will go over a little bit here, but I'm not going to go too much into them because, again, they are backlog from June that are for reading groups and all kinds of other stuff. So we're going to just talk about those and then the ones that I have to read for July for those reading groups, and then also going into a little bit about how I am determining if I can get through all of those books, what to read next. On top of that, July is my birthday month. My birthday month is here. It is crazy. I'm gonna be turning 25 on the 8th, and I am so excited. With everything that's been going on in the world, it's kind of that light at the end of the tunnel for me for right now. But I hope everyone's been doing okay despite everything that's been going on recently, especially toward the end of June. I will leave resources in my description that will forever now be involved here until this whole fight is over. So I will leave a bunch of links for groups you can donate to for the fight for women's bodies. Out of the way, let's go into what I'm going to be planning to read in July because I need a little bit of solace in this month if I'm going to be able to continue to survive in this entire environment that I'm going to be thrust into here very soon. So first and foremost, we're going to go over a few of the things I'm going to be reading over the course of the month that are going to be carrying over from June. So first of which being my Brandon Sanderson books I needed to read in June. I do believe I'm going to get through a couple of them here before the end of the month, but it is entirely possible that come July 1st, I will still need to get through at least one of the books. And right now we are working through Mistborn Era 2, as well as reading 2 of the novellas from the Arcanum Unbounded, which are Allomancer Jack and Mistborn Secret History. So I am expecting that by the time the 1st of July rolls around, I will have finished books 1 and 2 and Allomancer Jack in Mistborn Era 2 and still need to complete book 3 in Mistborn Era 2 as well as reading Mistborn Secret History. Along with that, I have my royally booked book club pick for Princess's Book Club. I'll leave information for that down in the description as well as stuff for the Brandon Sanderson read along. But this month in June, we were supposed to read Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May, and I haven't been able to pick it up as of yet, but we're going to try to get through it, hopefully before the live show, if I can even make it, because I have a feeling that the live show is going to be the same weekend as the Brandon Sanderson read-along one, and that'll also be during my birthday weekend, so I'm not sure if I'm going to even be able to join those because I don't know what's going to be going on for my birthday weekend. Next, I have A Court of Mist and Fury, which is book 2 in the Court of Thorns and Rose series by Sarah J. Maas, and I am reading this alongside of several other people with Princess that are basically preparing for Princess's upcoming renewing of her vows, and the theme of her wedding is very much going to be inspired by A Court of Thorns and Roses and the aesthetic that there is there. So this is a read-along where we get to read those, and I was supposed to read A Court of Mist and Fury in June because I was supposed to have read A Court of Thorns and Roses in May, and I couldn't get to it until June, and now I'm not going to be able to get to this one until July, so we're kind of like trying to play catch up here. I also have several books that are parts of reading series that I have decided to take a bit of a step back from, but they are on my lower priority list, so we're going to move on to the books I will be reading in July for various things, because I have not only the Brandon Sanderson read-along and Princess's Book Club and continuing with The Court of Thorns and Roses, but I also am going to be participating in Summerween this year. So first things first, let's go over the Brandon Sanderson read-along for this month. So in July, we are going to be reading Elantris as well as 2 of the novellas in the Arcanum Unbounded, which are The Emperor's Soul and The Hope of Elantris. Now, this, I have no idea what's going to be involved in it. Elantris is very different than what I'm used to because we are now going to be getting out of the Mistborn world for some time, but Elantris is a standalone so far. There is, I think, thoughts of there going to be another book at least in this series further on down the line. I do believe that that is one of Sanderson's plans going on forward, but for right now this is a standalone and we have 2 novellas that are going to be involved. Next, we have the Royally Booked Book Club pick for July, which is going to be Special Topics in Calamity Physics by Marisha Pessl. This is another dark academia book. For the Royally Booked Book Club, we tend to read dark academia-based things. This is all I understand from the synopsis about a girl named Blue who has moved from place to place for many years, and basically going to this one school gets involved with this group of girls, and there's some mysterious things going on. So very classic dark academia, sorority-like kind of thing. I am excited to read it, and I have read Marisha Pessl's work before. I did read Night Film by her many years ago, and I really, really enjoyed what she did with it, so I'm very excited to see how this one is. And I am hoping that based on the way that this cover looks, we're gonna get some mixed media things like we saw in Night Film, so I'm very excited for that. Next, we have the Court of Thorns and Roses book for July, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin. Again, I still do have to read Mist and Fury before I get to this one, but this is the July read if we're going every month reading one book. So I am excited because I really did enjoy A Court of Thorns and Roses a lot. And so I am excited to be able to get to this one because everyone I know that has read this series has said that the books just get better and better the further you go. So I'm very excited to see how this one pans out for me. All right, next we're gonna go into my Summerween TBR. So Summerween is gonna be taking place from July 15th to July 21st. And it is inspired by summer camp horror things, you know, like that's kind of the point of these Summerween, Winterween kinds of things, is it's very horror based, very much trying to read spooky, creepy things that is not a part of the normal Halloween times. I have one book on here that's not necessarily scary, but it does fit one of the prompts. But first I have City of the Plague God by Sarwat Chadha. I need to read this before August because this was one of the books I needed to read for Aurelium Academy, and I'm still behind on a couple of books for that. So if I can get this read in July, it will get me further to where I can basically say that my character in Aurelium went to summer school and managed to get her grades up to where she could continue on in her studies. So I will be reading this for the prompt of to read a book with Halloween colors on the cover, because throughout it, and it doesn't really pick up very well on camera, but throughout it are a lot of orangey kind of tones and some black here and there with some of the shading. So this worked, and I think also the gold would work. I think gold very much works with Halloween colors, so we're going with that one. Next, I have Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. Now, this one I heard so many people talk about, I think during Spring Flingoween, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe both Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin and Liv from Olivia Reads Latte, one of the hosts of Summerween, had read this, and they both really seem to have enjoyed it. This is going to be completing the prompt to read a slasher, because this is a slasher. It is a young adult book, and I'm very excited because it is not often you see young adult slasher horror. Next, I have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Pretty much a classic when it comes to anything horror or supernatural related. I've not watched the show as of yet. I'm not really interested in the show, but I am interested in reading the book because I have heard really cool things about this. But this is going to be for the prompt of reading a book with haunt in the title because it's called The Haunting of Hill House and it fits the theme. Finally, the last book I will be reading for Summerween is actually a novella that again is more so for Aurelium that I need to read before Aurelium hits in August, and that is The Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo. This is one of the short stories that is involved in the Grishaverse, and is kind of one of the fairy tales or stories that are told to children in a sense. And this is going to be for a book to read in the dark or at night, because since it is a short story or novella, this is going to be really easy for me to fly through in an entire night. So finally, I'm going to go quickly into what basically the lower priority list is going to go into. So lower priority, I decided, was going to be all of the reading series I was doing up until about June. So that was my Wheel of Time reading series, my Witcher reading series, my Stephen King reading series, and also starting up the new reread/finish series, which was going to be The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare, as well as reading all of the other books that are involved in the Mortal Instruments world to date. So for right now, how this is going to work is if I can somehow get through all of the books that are on my TBR that are more set in stone for ongoing reading series with other people, readathons that I would like to participate in, especially if they are very short ones like Summerween where it's only a week. things like that. If I can complete all of those much more higher priority books, then I get to spin a wheel that I will show the picture of right here that has the names of the titles of all of the other books I am looking to read that are parts of lower priority reading series. The rule is basically that I have to have completed the rest of the books on my TBR before I can get to this. And the idea also is that if I land on a book that is kind of like the second part of the reading series, like I have to have read something before it, before getting to that one, I will refer to the first in that series. So for instance, in the Wheel of Time series, I have to next read Lord of Chaos. But if the wheel lands on anything in that series that is not Lord of Chaos, I just go to the first book in that. So it basically is more of which series do I end up picking from as opposed to what I really read. But if I land on the book that is the first in that series I have to read, then, you know, that's easier. So also, for another example, my Stephen King reading series. The next book I need to read chronologically is It. But if I land on Misery, I'm going to refer to going to It first because I need to read It chronologically for my series to continue going the way it's going. So that's kind of the way that we're going to go about this. So that's kind of just a quick rundown of what the lower priority wheel is going to be going forward. If I cannot get to this, basically I will just keep adding titles that are parts of the series to the wheel, because eventually the goal is to get to this wheel and start getting through some of the titles on this. But I do want to keep adding to it as the months go on, as if I was to continue reading the series, so that I have more options for months where like I might have a little bit more flexibility and I might be able to get through more things. It's kind of one of those things we're gonna see what happens, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and that's fine. So that being said, those are all the books I will be reading in the month of July for sure. There are 5 physically here, along with the other books I will be carrying over from June and all of the ebooks that are going to be read in the course of the month. But I am very excited for how this is going to go because of the fact that I don't have to play Wheel of D20 this month. I very much get a break from that, so I have more time to get through more things. And I think especially with a lot of these books, when I have the audiobooks for them, I get through them a lot faster. So I do think it is possible that I could get to my lower priority wheel before the end of the month. It might be cutting it close where I have to spin like within a few days of the end of the month, but we'll see, because I think that especially if I can really get through a lot of things quickly like I was able to here in the second half of June, things are going to go a lot better for me in terms of my reading for July. But I'm really excited nonetheless. Let me know if you guys are participating in anything that I was talking about here in the comments below, whether it's the Brandon Sanderson read along or the Royally Booked Book Club or the Court of Thorns and Roses read along or Summerween. What are you guys doing this month? What are you going to be participating in? Are there other readathons going on you're going to be participating in? Let me know. I might not join them, but I'd love to hear about how you guys are doing. And Oscar is now going to be chewing on my books to try to get my attention, so I think I gotta go. But thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!